Right. Good evening, everyone. So this seminar is focused at future law students. Now, I believe most of you all have just finished your A levels, just finished your school, and you all are planning on pursuing your legal education and planning on pursuing a career in law in the future. And today is the day that I will be giving you the basic understanding of how lawyering works in the country and the basic idea of how the profession is going to work out. Okay. එතකොට මම අද සෙමින එකේදී ඔයගලන්ට පැහැදිලි කරලා දෙනවා නීති වෘත්තියට පිවිසෙන්නේ කොහොමද ලංකාවේ ඒකට තියෙන පාර මොකක්ද ඇතුළු ඒ මූලික කාරණා ටික. After the seminar that I will have a Q&A session that you guys can ask whatever the questions you have and I will answer them. ඔයාලට ගැටලු මොනවාද තියෙනවා නම් සම්මන්ත්‍රණයෙන් පස්සේ මම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට අවස්ථාවක් දෙනවා ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න. ගැටලු තියෙනවා නම් දැනටම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට chat box එකේ දාන්න පුළුවන්. ඕන නම් මට DM කරන්න. If you want, you can DM your questions to me, put it in the chat, and I will answer them accordingly. Right. Okay. So let's start with this. Let's start with the basic terms that you must have heard of. මොනවද අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් නීති වෘත්තියට සම්බන්ධ වෘත්තිමය වචන විදිහට පාවිච්චි කරන මේ වෘත්තියට කියන නම් මොනවද? What are the names we use for the profession of law? So we normally refer with a couple of names. We normally refer to the legal professionals as lawyers. That's the most common word, right? Lawyers. Of course, even our seminar is named as free seminar for future lawyers. And that's how I mentioned it in the group also, right? Lawyers. Apart from that, what are the other words you heard? Now, I would like if you can be engaged in the seminar, like, it's going to be like less boring for you if you communicate with me from your side. So put it in the chat if you know, or you can unmute and tell me, right? Okay. One student told me advocate. Advocate is another word, right? Lawyer. What else? What else are the words that you would have heard? Lawyer, advocate. Any other words that you heard? What do we say when it comes to this legal profession? Someone's telling me attorney at law. Yes. Right. You might have heard the word proctor, like, kind of an old word. Council, state council, president's council, right? Would have heard. Now, to go in Sinhala, මොනවද අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ වෘත්තියට සම්බන්ධ අයට කියන නම් අපි නීතිඥ කියලා කියනවා. නීතිඥ, නීතිවේදී කියලා කියනවා. නීතිඥ, නීතිවේදී, පෙරකදෝරු, ජනාධිපති නීතිඥ, අධිනීතිඥ, රජයේ අධිනීතිඥ, ඔබ කියලා වචන ගොඩක් තියෙනවා, right? So there are a lot of words that we normally refer to. So first we have to be familiar with what kind of meanings these words have. Do they refer to the same thing? Now, first of all, the word advocate is not used that often in our country. That's a very rare word we use in our country, in Sri Lanka. Advocate, the word advocate is mostly used in India. ඉන්දියාවල සාමාන්‍ය ගොඩක් advocate කියන වචනේ advocate කෙනෙක් කියන වචනේ ගොඩක් අය පාවිච්චි කරනවා. In Sri Lanka, we don't use the word advocate quite a lot. Instead, we normally use the word lawyer and attorney at law in our country mostly. Lawyer is the most common word. Lawyer is the word that we use in most of the countries in the world, right? But actually, the correct term is attorney at law. Attorney at law is the most accurate term that you can use. So, when it comes to the word attorney at law, මේ නීතිඥ කියන වචනේ පාවිච්චි කරනවා. නීතිඥවරයෙක් කියනවා. ඊළඟට තව තියෙනවා සාමාන්‍ය අධිනීතිඥ, රජයේ අධිනීති, ජනාධිපති නීතිඥ. So can council, state council, president's council, those are the ones, special ones that you get after becoming an attorney. නීතිඥයෙක් වුණාට පස්සේ එතනින් එහාට අපිට යන්න පුළුවන් නිරතර තමයි මේ රජයේ අධිනීතිඥ, ජනාධිපති නීතිඥ වගේ වචන වලින් හැදින්වෙන්නේ. So basically you have to be an attorney at law first. ඉස්සෙල්ලා නීතිඥයෙක් වෙලා ඉන්න ඕනේ. So the main word that you are looking for is attorney at law. Lawyer is the more common word, but attorney at law is the accurate word that we refer to. Now, first you have to understand. Actually, the word lawyer, although we normally use the word lawyer to refer to anyone who is practicing law, Actually, the word lawyer refers to someone who is educated in law, someone who knows the law, someone who has studied the law, someone who knows the subject of law, right? So if you use the word lawyer, it actually refers to being educated about law. That means that you have studied about law. To be very simple, the word lawyer is normally referred to, like actually, accurately, it has to be referred to someone who has a degree, a university degree, a bachelor's degree on law. You have finished high school now, you have finished your school education. The next step of your education is going to be a college degree, a university degree, right? So you go to a university and you can learn many different things in order to get a degree on. I mean, you can study art, you can study medicine, you can study law, international relations, management, right? Economics. There are so many different degrees you can take. You go to university for a couple of years and you learn something and they offer you a degree, right? So if your degree is low, that means you are a lawyer. Now this should be the proper meaning, but we normally don't refer to it like that. We normally use the word lawyer. In practicality, the practical use, the word lawyer equals to attorney at law. But actually, it should be the proper way is that referring the word lawyer to someone who knows the law, right? Like technically, but that's not how we normally do it. So first, we are referring to people who have studied the law. You have a degree in law. Now keep in mind, just because you have studied the law, just because you have gone to university and learned the law, and just because you have a university degree, a college degree in law, that does not mean that you are allowed to go to courts and appear. You are not allowed to be someone who practices law as a profession. Okay, just because you have studied the law. In fact, if you want to practice law, if you want to get involved in the law in the country as a profession, as a job, if you want to be a professional, you need to pass this particular exam called attorney at law, attorney's examination, or we refer to that as bar exam, bar examination, right? So once you pass this examination, once you pass this examination, you are allowed to practice law as a profession. Those are the ones we normally refer to as attorney at law, right? Now you can see that when it comes to being a lawyer, like in practical sense, in a practical sense, being a lawyer or being an attorney, or like being a legal professional, someone who practices law, requires two things. Number one, you have to have studied the law. You have to have studied the law, and you have to have a degree, right? Studied the law and have a degree. You go to university and learn law. You have a law degree, which means that you are aware of law. You know what law is. You have an educational qualification. Educational qualification. You have been educated as to what the law is. That's what you refer to as your law degree, right? What are the three letters you use in law degree? What do you call a law degree? What are the three letters? LLB, right? You're doing your LLB. You're doing a law degree. That means you go to university, just like anyone else who goes to university to study medicine, to study engineering, to study management, to study art, to study visual arts, to study astronomy, right? To study physics, biotech, chemistry, anything for that matter, right? Just like that, you have also gone to a university and you have studied law. And after studying law for several years, they have granted you a college degree, a university degree, to confirm that you are someone who knows what the law is. You are someone who is aware, who has a knowledge as to what the law is. That is your law degree, LLB. That's the first requirement. Second requirement is that you have to have passed your attorney examination, the bar exam. you have to pass your attorney examination. Once you pass your attorney examination for the bar exam, you are allowed to do law as a job. That's what you call your lawyer's license, right? Once you pass your attorney exam, you get a license and you are allowed to engage in the legal profession as a job, right? So there are two requirements. You need to get your law degree. You need to pass your attorney exam. Okay, two hurdles to pass. Now, once you are an attorney at law, right? Once you are an attorney at law, you get an ID even from your bar association, right? So I'll show you mine. Like this is my bar association ID. Okay. So once you have this is your license. This is my license that I am allowed to wear a cloak and go to courts and practice law as a job, as a profession. Those are the ones you should refer to as attorney at law, right? So what does attorney at law mean? What does attorney at law mean? Now, you know that when you go to courts, when you go to the justice system of the country, right? When you go to courts, any one of us, any one of us is allowed, any one of us is allowed to represent ourselves. Say that you've been accused of committing a crime, police will arrest you and put you to courts, and in a courthouse, it should be proved that you've done something wrong, then only you will be punished, right? But in that court hearing, in that court hearing, in that trial, right, you are allowed to represent yourself. You are allowed to represent yourself. You don't need a lawyer. You can go and you can represent yourself. You can speak to the judge. You can question from the other side. Any citizen is allowed, including me, including you. We are all allowed to represent ourselves in courts. What does that license do? What does being an attorney mean? Being an attorney means that you can represent yourself plus you can represent someone else, right? Now, if you are ever arrested for something, you are allowed to represent yourself. But if your friend is arrested for something, you can't go and represent your friend in courts. In courts right now, I'm assuming none of you all are attorneys yet, right? I'm assuming that. So you guys can go to court and say that you didn't do it. You can say you didn't do it and you can speak in the courts to defend yourself, right? However, in contrast, when it comes to uh, an attorney, I can, if I am ever accused of a crime, I can go to courts and say I didn't commit the crime. But if one of my friends is also accused of a crime, I can go to courts and say that my friend didn't do the crime either. So an attorney is allowed to represent themselves and someone else. But when it comes to non-attorney, you are only allowed to represent yourself. So that's the difference. So if you have attorney license, if you are an attorney at law, right, what that means is you are allowed to defend people in courts. You are allowed to represent people in courts. When people go to courts to get justice, you are allowed to go as that person's agent. And some of us decide to do that as a profession, as a job, as a living. Right? So that's what you call practicing as a lawyer. Practicing means that since you are allowed to represent others, you decide to do that as a job. Now I have the option of going and representing anyone I want, and I get paid for that. So that's what the legal profession practicing law means. To do that, what you need? You have to pass your attorney at law examination, the bar examination. Now, side note here, just because you have your attorney license doesn't mean that you have to go practice. Doesn't mean that your only job should be going to courts and speaking and representing people. That's not necessary, right? Because the thing is, you are allowed, you are quite literally allowed to do any job you want, right? Now, up until recently, I was working at European Union. right? I was working at a European Union project, and I wasn't going to courts, right? So I was an attorney, but I wasn't practicing. I didn't have to go to courts, right? Now I'm planning on going back. So it's optional for me. You can go and get any job you want. It's like having driver's license. Just because you have driver's license doesn't mean you have to drive a vehicle as your job. You have the option of driving a vehicle as job because you are allowed to drive. But you can do any other job while having the license to drive, right? So just like that, lawyer's license means you are allowed to represent people in courts. Doesn't mean you have to do that for a living. You can literally do any job. Now, one of the questions I get quite often is, so is it possible to be a lawyer and be a lecturer? Is it possible to be a lawyer and work at a bank? Is it possible to be a lawyer and be a teacher? Is it possible to be a lawyer and be a company manager? Is it possible to be a lawyer and be an actor? Anything is possible. You once you get that license, you can put it in your wallet and do any job you want. And what's best about being an attorney? Now, me speaking from my personal experience, right? What's best about being an attorney at law, being a lawyer, is that you never go unemployed in your life, right? Because at any point, say that you lose the job that you are working, when you are a lawyer, you can go to courts anytime and start practicing. So this is like a safety net. You never go unemployed if you are a lawyer. And if you have a dream job, it makes perfect sense for you to become a lawyer first and then pursue your dream. Now, my dream was becoming a political science teacher. I love the subject political science. I think some of you all here, you all know me from my political science classes. I also teach for common general test, but mostly I teach political science. But if I simply became merely a political science teacher, if I was just doing political science classes as my job, that would put so much pressure on me, right? Number one, that I am under a lot of pressure to make a lot of money from my doing my classes. And if my classes start dropping down, that would put pressure on me. Secondly, in case, you never know, right? What if the government bans tuition? What if the government changes the syllabus and political science is no longer a subject? Or like, they bring a new subject and the number of students of political science drops, right? I don't have to have a fear because I have my lawyering as my safety net. I can go back to practicing law anytime, right? In addition, it gives me the option of like doing a selective number of cases as an attorney, so that would get me a good income, and I can continue teaching my classes without looking at the money. Now, the ones who have attended my classes, you guys know I'm quite free spirited and um, I'm enjoying doing my classes. It's because I don't teach for the money. I teach because I enjoy. And teaching is more like my hobby because I have my lawyering as my main profession and my main source, right? My main source of income. So if you have a dream job, my dream job was becoming a political science teacher, and being a lawyer has given me a safety net and a fantastic foundation to pursue my dream job. So if you have a dream job, I'd recommend you be a lawyer first, have your safety net, then you don't have any pressure. You can pursue whatever you want in life, right? Okay. So going back to our previous explanation, if you want to be an attorney, if you want to get that license, there is only one place. There is only one place in Sri Lanka that you can do the attorney at law exam. There is only one place in Sri Lanka, one place in Sri Lanka where they let you do the bar examination. Nowhere else. If you want to get your attorney license, if you want to become an attorney at law, right? There is only one place in Sri Lanka that you can get it. This might confuse you because like you've seen your friends, your seniors going to several places to become lawyers. What is the place? What is the only place that you can get lawyer's license from? What is the only place that you can go to do your bar exam, attorney exam? Does anyone know the answer? Let's see if anyone knows the answer. Right. Someone texted me the right answer. Sri Lanka Law College. Sri Lanka Law College is the only place only place in Sri Lanka that you can do your attorney exam, right? Then you might end up thinking like, wait, what about my friend who does law in Colombo University? What about my friend who does law in KDU? What about my friend who does law in APIT? What about my friend who does law in RI? Wait, what about my friend who's in CFPS? My friend in IDM? My friend in Open University? My friend in University of Paragon? In Horizon Campus? In SLIT? Right? In NSBO? You see a lot of friends of y'all are going to different places and they are studying law. And what do you mean law college is the only place? Law college is the only place to get your attorneys, but I told you that there is another qualification you need, the academic qualification, the educational qualification of getting a degree of law, an LLB, right? All of your friends who are going to those places, they are getting that qualification sorted, right? People in Colombo University Faculty of Law, people in University of Peradeniya, people in University of Jaffna, people in Open University, people in KDU, people in RI, people in CFPS, in APIT, IDM, NSBM, KIU, BCAS, NSBM, right? Horizon Campus, right? People in all of these places, they are getting their law degree sorted. As I told you, getting a law degree means you know the law, right? You have studied what the law is. Passing the attorney means that you are allowed to practice law as a law. So no matter where you go to get your LLB from, no matter where you go to study your law degree from, eventually you have to come back to Sri Lanka Law College and sit for your attorney at law examination and get it sorted. Right? Eventually you have to come to Sri Lanka Law College and complete your attorney at law exam, complete your bar examination to get your lawyer's license. Right? Now, if Sri Lanka Law College is the only place that you can go to do your attorneys, why do people go to all these places to get their LLB? Why do people go to KDU and um, all these other places, Colombo University, Open University, APIT, RI, IBM, CFPS? Why do they go to all these places if eventually you have to come back to law college? It's because it's not like anyone can just randomly walk into Sri Lanka Law College and do the attorney exam. If that's possible, everyone will go there. Everyone will attempt. Everyone will go to Sri Lanka Law College and try attorney. Right? You are not allowed to do that because Sri Lanka Law College doesn't really take random people in. Not, Sri Lanka Law College is not a university. You have to make that clear in your head. Sri Lanka Law College is not a university. Sri Lanka Law College is the legal education council of the Sri Lankan court system. It's a part of the Supreme Court and that court complex. It's not a university. It's a part of the legal system of Sri Lanka. It's a part of the court system of Sri Lanka. So they are not a university. It's not a place that you can just randomly enter and like enroll to do the attorney. To go to Sri Lanka Law College, you need a golden ticket. That's like you need a golden ticket to go to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, right? So the golden ticket to enter Sri Lanka Law College is your LLB. People go to all these universities, complete their LLBs, complete their law degrees, because that is your ticket to go into Sri Lanka Law College. When you go to Sri Lanka Law College gates, you have your LLB, they will let you in. Okay. Right. Is it possible for you to go to Sri Lanka Law College without having an LLB? Yes. Actually, there are three options. If you want to go to Sri Lanka Law College, you have three options. Number one, you have to have an LLB. If you don't have an LLB, number two, Sri Lanka Law College hosts an entrance examination, law entrance, right? So you can sit for law entrance exam. It's a very competitive exam. They have about like 3,000 people sitting for it, and they only take about 400 people in. Okay, so they have law entrance examination. You can sit for it, and then you can go to Sri Lanka Law College without having an LLB. Right? First option is you have to have an LLB. If that's not there, you can sit for low entrance examination and pass that, and you can go to law college. And the third option is if you are a if you are a member of the Sri Lankan Parliament. Parliament monthly කෙනෙක් වුණොත් LLB එකකුත් ඕනේ low entrance ඕනෙත් නැහැ, you can go to law college, right? So the choice is yours. Either you can go to a university, get a law degree, law college will take you, or you can attempt, right, to sit for the low entrance exam and pass that. That's competitive, right? 3,000 people sit for it. They only take 400 people in. If you get through that, you can go to law college. Or else you can run an election campaign and win a seat in the parliament, and then you can go to law college without either of those things. Right? Those are the three options. But realistically speaking, the most realistic and most practical option is getting your LLB sorted. You can sit for low entrance and see whether that works out for you. Low entrance examination is mostly like that common general paper you did for your A level. Like that paper comes with all those IQ questions and general knowledge questions and all of that, right? But of course, if you want to sit for low entrance examination, let me know. I can get you connected to one of those classes who do classes for low entrance, right? The most practical solution and the most reliable one is getting an LLB, right? So those are the options: LLB or low entrance or going to the parliament. Right. I have a question in the chat. Could you please explain regarding this? Once we pass a low entrance exam, and then what are the qualifications to be for us to do this and the impact of A level results? I'll get to that. Now, I told you there are three different ways to go to Sri Lanka Law College. One is having an LLB. Two is passing the low entrance exam. Three, being in the parliament. But either way, whatever the option you take, right? Whatever the three paths you choose, law college expects you to have two basic qualifications. Number one, for O levels, you need to have a C pass or above, C or above, right? A or B or C for English and your first language, right? If your first language is Sinhala, you need to have a C for Sinhala and English. If your first language is Tamil, you have to have a C for Tamil and C for English. C or above. Could be a B, could be an A, above C, right? If you have S for English or S for Sinhala or S for Tamil, then, law college won't take you in, right? But link language doesn't count. If your main language is Sinhala and if you done Tamil as your link language, that doesn't count. If your main language is Sinhala and your main language is Tamil, you've done Sinhala as your link language, again, that doesn't count. Your first language, mother tongue. Your mother tongue, you have to have a C, right? And your English paper also should have a C, right? Now, of course, if you are one of those people who are like completely mistaken into thinking that your first language is English, that's not a thing, okay? If you are a citizen of Sri Lanka, your first language is either Sinhala or Tamil, right? If you are under the impression that English is your first language, that means that you've been brought up in an English-speaking background, you've done your studies in English medium, and you happen to be bad at your first language, right? Some students text me, like, saying that their first language is English. No, your first language is either Sinhala or Tamil, right? No one's first language is English in this country, okay? So, you have to have C for first language and English both in O levels. That's the first requirement. Second requirement, in your A levels, the minimum result you can have. First, you have to have SIT for A levels. Back then, they didn't check for A levels, so a lot of people directly went after O levels. They did LLBs and went, but now they check A level. You need to have a minimum of 2 C passes and 1 S pass. For the 3 subjects you've done, you need to get C's for 2 subjects and you are allowed to get 1 S right? This used to be 3S passes back in the day. Then they made it a little difficult, 1C and 2S minimum. Now they made it even tougher, 2Cs and 1S pass, right? 2Cs and 1S pass or above. Okay. You are allowed to have a maximum of 1S. You are not allowed to fail any of the subjects. You are allowed to have a minimum of 1S pass. And for the other two subjects, you have to have more than Cs, 2Cs or above, right? So if you failed one subject, you can't go. If you have more than one S, if you have 2S passes or 3S passes, again you can't go. Right? So that doesn't matter whether you pass low entrance, doesn't matter whether you have an LLB, doesn't matter whether you are in the parliament, you have to have A levels. You must know there's this member of parliament, quite popular fellow called Ranjan Ramanayak, who wanted to go to law college because in the parliament, but he didn't have A levels, so he redid A levels. He redid A levels. It was some of my friends who taught him. He did political science, media, and divinity. Right? He managed to get 2 Cs for political and media, I think, but he couldn't get to divinity. So that's why he couldn't go. Right? So, one more question. Is it possible to do an LLB degree in the Open University while doing a degree in a government university? Okay, it's like this. Okay, I'll get to that. I'll get to that once I explain the next part. Now, you know, to go to law college, you need O-level 2 Cs, right? 2 Cs, one for uh, English, one for uh, first language, 1C for first language, 1C for English. For A levels, you need a minimum of 2Cs and 1S. And then once you have that, you are eligible for law college. Then either you have to have an LLB or pass law entrance or be in the parliament, one of the three. Right? So now let's talk about LLBs. You need to get an LLB, law degree. If you are getting a law degree, you have two options. One option is getting a Sri Lankan law degree. Other option is getting a foreign law degree. You can get a Sri Lankan law degree from a government state university, or you can get a law degree from one of the private universities, a foreign law degree from a private university. Government university, you can get a Sri Lankan law degree. From private universities, you can get a foreign law degree. Either ways, you are allowed to go to law college, but I'll get to the exceptions later. But either ways, it's an LLB, right? So you have both options. We'll look into the specifics in a bit. You have both options. Okay. Uh, one more question. So what are the subjects that needs to be taken for A levels for law? Nothing specific. It doesn't matter what you do for your A levels, right? You know, even people who do bio, maths for A levels, even commerce, right? All of them they are studying law, right? It, there are no requirements from law college asking you have to have done these subjects. No, the only thing they check is whether you have a C for English, whether you have a C for first language, for levels. Other one is they check whether whatever the three subjects you've done for your A levels, right? That's London A levels or local A levels. You have to have minimum of 2 Cs and 1S for whatever the three subjects you do, right? That's the only requirement. They don't care what subjects you've done. Only thing is that, you know, if you're planning on studying law, there are certain subjects which can come in handy, right? Which can uh, study, like which can come in handy when you're studying law. For example, the subject I am teaching, political science, comes in handy if you are studying a law degree later, because in political science we study about constitutions, rule of law, um, sovereignty, and all these basic concepts. So there are certain subjects in law, such as constitutional law, public international law. These kind of subjects get covered when you do political science for A levels, right? There are some subjects like that the knowledge you gain by doing those subjects can come in handy when you're doing a law degree. But officially, law college or none of the universities really require you to have done certain subjects. That's not necessary. You are allowed to do any subjects you want. But of course, depending on your LLB, some subjects can be vital. I'll get to that in a bit. Uh, Another question. If we have a degree in law, do they still check for those A level and O level results in law college? Yes, they do. If you even if you have a law degree, they still check your O level and A level results. I'll give you an example. Several students who some of them skipped A levels, some of them did not get good results for A levels, but still they went to a private university and got their LLBs, right? Once they had the LLBs, law college said you can't come without A levels, so they had to come back to my political science. So in my political science class, I had several students who were law graduates. So technically speaking, they are lawyers, right? Because they have a law degree. They had to come back to my political class to learn A levels again. They had to redo A levels because um, you have you have to have A levels in hand, even if you have a degree, right? Even if you are in the parliament, it doesn't count, right? Ranjan Ramanage had to come back to do A levels. So they check that. Yes, even if you have a degree, they check your A levels and O levels. So if you don't have C4, if you don't have C4 O level first language or Sinhala, make sure you redo it now itself, or else you will have to do it by the time you go to local, right? And if you in your A levels, if you don't get like two C's and one less, make sure you redo it now itself. Okay, it's going to be very difficult later on, like with other work, doing that again. Okay, that's a must. Next question. So then what's the qualification required for open university? I'll explain that. Is the O-level language local result important because I did Edexcel O-levels and local A-levels? That, of course, I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not very clear about like what happens uh, when it comes to Edexcel O-levels. Uh, if you could just drop me a text on WhatsApp, I will check with my contacts in law college and get back to you. Okay, right. Now let me screen share and show something to you. Whatever that I've explained is not a very neat presentation. I just prepared it like a few minutes ago. Okay, right. So this is the process. Now look, you can have an LLB. Even if you have an LLB, you have to come back to Sri Lanka Law College. So from Sri Lanka Law College, only the attorney at law comes out. Right? Attorney at law comes out from Sri Lanka Law College. When you pass the exams in Sri Lanka Law College, you come out as an attorney at law. To get to law college, you have three paths. Either you can pass a law entrance exam, or you can come through the parliament, or you can pass your LLB and come. For LLB, you have two options. Either you can get it from Sri Lankan University, that's a Sri Lankan LLB, or you can get it from a foreign university, a foreign LLB. Right? So these are the three options. For each, you have three options. If you are getting it from a Sri Lankan university, first option is getting it from University of Colombo, University of Peradeniya, University of Jaffna. There are only three universities in the local, fully state university system. One is University of Colombo, one is University of Peradeniya, one is University of Jaffna. These three universities give you a law degree, right? Or else the second option you have is a semi-government option, Kotalabala Defense University in Ratmananga, right? KDU. Third option you have is the Open University of Sri Lanka. Now, Kotalabala Defense University and Open University, they would cost you a little bit. You have to pay a little, but not very expensive, right? I think Open University would cost less than 100,000. You have to check. Like the last time I checked, it was like 80,000. Must be a little higher now. But compared to degrees, compared to other degrees, that's very, very, very low price. KDU, I think you have to pay about 5 lakhs, 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs for the entire thing. Again, that's quite budget friendly compared to all the privileges you get from that university. University of Peradeniya, University of Jaffna, and University of Colombo, you get a free degree from free education. Those are fully state universities, so you don't have to pay anything. Right? I myself, my degree is from University of Colombo. Right? So to discuss a few specifics about this, first option, University of Colombo, University of Peradeniya, University of Jaffna. From these three universities, you will get a free degree, and these three universities give you the best law degree that is available for a Sri Lankan student because they have the highest standard. Okay. Why is it so? reputed. Now, I myself, having my law degree from University of Colombo, to be honest, I have to be honest with you, like, that has covered me when it comes to most of the things. One of the things that whatever the reputation I've earned, it's because my law degree is from University of Colombo, right? But of course, it's not easy. It's reputed, it's highly, heavily reputed, number one. And number two, it's free. Now that degree is worth like 7-8 million rupees. I got it for free because Sri Lanka has free education. Thanks to CWW Kanangara, we have free education in Sri Lanka, right? And I have a 7-8 million worth of a degree where the state gave it to me for free. And it is highly reputed, right? The reputation of the Sri Lankan Colombo University degree, law degree, is it's reputed anywhere in the world, right? But of course, the only way to get to this university is through your A-level EZ score, right? So the top notch is Colombo University. You basically have to have an island rank to get there, right? Island rank and a district rank. So back in my day, it was even more competitive. Back in my day, you had to be within the top 45 in Colombo. Your Colombo district rank has to be higher than 45, and your island rank had to be roughly above 300 back in the day, right? But now, of course, it's a little less competitive. From Colombo, I think up to the rank 85, you can get into Colombo University, right? Up to 85th in Colombo, you can get. It's a little less competitive now. They take more students from Colombo. Um, but of course, that's tough. Getting in is tough. That means you have to have done A levels to a level. You have an island rank or a district rank, right? Next is University of Peradeniya. Next is University of Jaffna. So if you slightly miss Colombo University by a little, you can go to Peradeniya or Jaffna, right? I don't really recommend that unless that first of all, Jaffna, unless you have relatives there or you can really adapt. It's a different culture there in Jaffna, right? Altogether. So unless you are Tamil or else that you are quite adaptable and you are flexible, I wouldn't really recommend that going to Jaffna. Or Peradeniya. Peradeniya is like, culturally you don't have to adjust that much. But of course, Peradeniya again, since it's in Kandy, uh, you won't be able to work here or like, do things. So for example, I wouldn't have considered University of Peradeniya or University of Jaffna because I have a lot of things happening in Colombo. I work in a lot of places. I do these gigs and I'm a part of a lot of clubs and I do a lot of things. I have a lot of commitments here, right? So because of that, I didn't consider those two. But of course, if you don't mind taking 4 years just to do your degree, then by all means, it's going to be a really good experience. Because Peradeniya is a beautiful university. uh, University of Jaffna, that's a completely different culture, and you are going to learn a lot and get a good exposure. It's nice as an experience, right? But it's not for someone who's involved in a lot of things, like like myself, right? Because I was in University of Colombo, I was allowed to work in all these other places, to go to these places, go to these events, and I mean, like you guys must have some sort of an idea about like my what kind of a person I am. You must see me in all these different kind of events. So I am that kind of a person. I am involved in a lot of things. So for me, it doesn't work like having a few years off just to do a degree. But if you are not necessarily that kind of a person, you don't mind like spending 4 years just to get your degree done, then yes, by all means, Jaffna or Peradeniya would be a wonderful experience for you, right? But again, the degree is free. You have to have a district rank and IM rank, right? That's the toughest one to get in. So it depends on your EZ score, right? Doesn't matter what subjects you've done, right? What subjects, as in like you can't go if you've done performance arts, like drama, uh, art, dancing, music. If you've done those subjects, you can't apply for those universities because those subjects you get marks not in a theoretical manner, right? Because for music or art, like people give marks subjective. You draw something, someone looks at it and gives you marks, and that is subjective from person to person, right? So to get an island rank on that is not very logical, right? So back in for other subjects that you study, you write a particular answer, and then you get your marks, and then you go to university. That is rational, right? It's a little unfair that not allowing those students to go to law faculty, but that's just how it works. Also, be clear with this. These places we are talking about, they are known as law faculty. Like, this University of Colombo has a law faculty of law. It's not law college. Law college is the other place I told you where you go to get your attorney's done. Okay? The other place is faculty of law. Law college is where you go to get your attorney's done. Right? To go to the faculty of law, Colombo University, or the Department of Law in University of Peradeniya, or the Department of Law in Jaffna, you have to have an island form and the Z score. If your Z score is not that great, which is not good enough to get to one of these universities, you have your next option, which is KD, Kotalabra Defense University. To get to this also, you need somewhat of an Z score. They will have a certain Z score, but it's not going to be high as the University of Colombo Z score. For example, I think last year, University of Colombo Z score was 2.1. And for KDU, it was 1.6, right? So if you have reasonably good results, but not good enough to go to Colombo University, you can try for the Lala Defense University, right? But then you have to pay a little amount. I think it's a few lakhs. Relatively, it's very, very cheap. And they have a placement, they have an entrance test, which is not hard, right? They have an exam, entrance test that is not very hard. They ask questions from like the Sri Lankan legal system. Basically, you can get through that. Nobody fails that, right? That's out of procedure. Then you have the third option, which is going to Open University of Sri Lanka. To get to Open University of Sri Lanka, similar to Sri Lanka Law College, there is an entrance examination, right? There's an entrance exam for Open University as well, which is similar to the Law College entrance exam. If you pass that, if you pass a law entrance exam, you can go to Open University and get your degree there. The cost is about 100,000, right? So that's the third option. So if you go to one of these state universities or KDU or Open University, you will still get uh, a Sri Lankan law degree. Okay, right. Hope that part is clear to you. And if you have any questions, you can ask. One question, sir. What's the A-level result required to do LLB in Open University? I believe it is the same as Sri Lanka Law College, 2Cs and 1S, because say that if you have less than that, it doesn't make sense for you to get an LLB there, right? Say that you have 3 S passes, you get your LLB from Open University, but still Law College won't take you in because you have to have 2Cs and an S. So the A-level requirement for Open University would be the same as Law College itself, 2Cs and an S. Just keep in mind, to become a lawyer, the minimum law requirement is 2Cs and an S. Just remember it like that, right? Minimum requirement for A-level is 2Cs and an S, right? The other question, so how about the ranks that I have to go to law faculty? I have to get to go to law faculty. So as I told you, if you did your A-levels in Colombo district, your rank is district rank should be somewhere around like 85. I think up to your island rank should be somewhere within the top 400. Now I was the 20th in Colombo district and 130th in all island. So I think island rank has to be somewhere around like, if it's over 450, that's something possible. Right. Question. So what if we want to go abroad and continue attorney at law there? Is it possible? And is the degree valid? Short answer is yes, right? But a lot of things have to be explained. I'll get to that last. Okay. Yes, going abroad as a lawyer, going abroad as an attorney is completely possible, right? You see, the whole reason I'm doing this seminar, I did 2 seminars physical. I did 2 seminars physical because some students couldn't come on one day, right? And that wasn't enough. I'm still doing an online one because it really bothers me the misconceptions people have about law and legal education. These are two things you have to ask someone who knows, an expert, right? Because almost everyone pretends like they know the law. They will give you legal advice saying, nah, nah, එහෙම නෙමෙයි law එක තියෙන මෙහෙම තියෙන්නේ, right? They don't know anything. They're just hearing from someone. Even legal education, they're like, nah, nah, ලංකාවේ law කරලා රට යන්න බෑ. They're just thinking and saying these random people. And people are accepting this as facts. And that really, really bothers me. Like, so which is why I want to do this seminar, like for free. I don't mind doing this for free. I just want you to be properly informed. Okay? It's completely possible for you to become a lawyer and go abroad. right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I'll explain how that works, but that comes last, okay? Uh, does the state uni require O-level result too? Depends on the university, right? Now, I went to Colombo Law Faculty, so Colombo Law Faculty did check whether we have C for English and Sinhala. But again, even if the state uni doesn't check, it's pointless. Again, it's pointless because law college will lock the doors for you if you don't have the two seats, right? The O-level result. So just keep in mind, guys, to become a lawyer in Sri Lanka, for O-level, you need a C for your first language and English. For A-levels, you need two C's and an S, right? Whatever the path I showed you, right? Look at this. Look at it. Doesn't matter which path you take. Could be a Sri Lankan university, could be a foreign university, could be University of Colombo, KDU, Open Uni, or like through law entrance, or like through parliament. Either ways, your final destination is Sri Lanka Law College to become an attorney at law. And Sri Lanka Law College does require you to have two C's and an S for A levels and two C's for English and your first language. So either ways, you need it. You need the minimum O level qualification. Someone's asking how many years will it take to complete LLB in Open University? Okay, so Sri Lankan law degree takes 4 years. Sri Lankan universities, all of these UOC, UOP, UOJ, KDU, Open Uni, all of these Sri Lankan universities, it takes 4 years, right? Foreign university takes 3 years. Depends, but it takes 3 years, okay? 3 years. Sri Lankan university says 1 year extra, but if you have a Sri Lankan law degree, in Sri Lanka Law College, it takes less time, right? If you have a foreign law degree, you have to spend more time in Sri Lanka Law College. If you have a Sri Lankan law degree, you spend less time in Sri Lanka Law College. So either ways, it comes balanced. Like if you are coming from a Sri Lankan university, you only have to spend 1 year in Sri Lanka Law College. So it comes to 4 plus 1 is 5. If you are coming from a foreign university, you have to spend 2 years in Sri Lanka Law College. So 3 years for the foreign LLB, 2 years in Sri Lanka Law College. Either way, it's 5 years. Becoming a lawyer, the process is 5 years. Okay. One more question. Should it be two C's and one S in the same one and same sitting, or could we get through from second side to Open Uni? Okay, Open Uni. It's not for Open Uni. It's we are talking about Sri Lanka Law College. Okay, so it has to be in the same sitting. They've specified that you have to have two C's and an S in the same sitting. So if you don't have two C's and an S, if you have one C and two S's, you have to do all three subjects again. Okay. I was asking, is this a stressful career? I mean, first of all, it's 2024, guys. Anything is stressful, right? You know, this is something I was going to discuss last. Right? A lot of people ask, is being a lawyer hard? Are law college exams hard? Are law exams hard in general? I mean, not going to sugarcoat it to you guys. Like, you guys are not children anymore. Your childhood is over. You are entering into adulthood, and things are tough, right? That's how it normally goes. You see, when it comes to studying, or when it comes to having a career, being in a profession, any of these things, okay, it's going to be somewhat stressful. It's going to be somewhat challenging, right? Now, I was just recently having a chat with one of my friends that how our grandfathers, when it comes to our grandfather generation, how one person doing a job was enough to a family, right? When it comes to our grandfather's generation, pretty much 90% of the families, only the father worked. Pretty much in our grandmother's generation, every grandmother was a housewife, pretty much every, right? And that was enough. The father earning was enough to sustain like, and those families had like 3, 4 kids also. So imagine our grandfathers, only they worked, their wives didn't work, they had many children, they built houses, they bought land, they bought vehicles, they taught their children, they had weddings for their children, they sponsored their children for their education. Sometimes they built houses for their kids also, with only the grandfather working, right? And by the time our parents' generation came, right? The second generation, our parents, father working was not enough, right? The mother also had to work, right? So by the second generation, by our mothers, our parents' generations, father couldn't sustain the family alone, right? Father and the mother both had to work. Pretty much our generation, our moms did jobs, right? And with that, they managed to build houses, right? Um, have vehicles, and maybe like help the children to have their education, help the children to have their weddings. They could do the same level as the grandparents did. And it's tougher for our generation now that I have been an adult for some time. I know that I am slightly older to you, but like I somewhat belong to your generation, like an older version of your generation. You see that doing one job, doing one job itself isn't enough for us, right? We have to do like a main one job, and we have to have a side hustle, all of us, right? So in our generation, a married couple both working itself isn't enough, right? Father, mother, when our generation become parents, father and mother both working still is not going to be enough. We have to do like other side hustles, and that is barely enough for us to. It's still challenging for us to get houses and buy vehicles, and because you see the economy is getting like difficult, not just a Sri Lankan thing, not because we have inflation, not because Sri Lanka is a bad country. It's universal anywhere in the world, right? The world is getting tougher, it's getting more competitive, right? So it's going to be somewhat stressful, yes, right? Things are like I hate to like break it to you guys, burst your bubble, or like give you a reality check. You guys are done being children now, right? You guys are going to be adults, and things are not going to be like quite light like they used to be, right? So you sort of have to take the responsibility. It is going to be somewhat stressful, to be honest, right? But it's still manageable. Don't worry, it's still manageable. Okay, right. So since we discussed this one side of how the Sri Lankan LLBs work, now get to the foreign LLB side. So you can get a foreign LLB and come to Sri Lanka law college. And you have three options. One is going abroad. Two is getting your law degree through an agent. Three is getting your law degree private. These are the three options you have, right? So let's go one by one. First of all, you have going abroad. Of course, it's a foreign degree, right? You are getting an LLB, you are getting a law degree from a different country. So the option you have is, of course, is what? Getting your degree by going abroad. If you are getting a degree from University of London, you can fly to UK, stay in UK and get your degree. You can go to Australia, get your degree and come back, right? Any country. Any country, but Commonwealth countries are preferred mostly. Now, I personally don't recommend this option. If you ask me, I wouldn't recommend for several reasons. Number one, it's basically a meaningless wasteful of money because you see the second option is getting your LLB through an agent, right? So I'll explain the second option as I'll actually explain all three and we'll get to the preferable options. Number one is going abroad. If you want to get a law degree from University of London, you fly to London and get your law degree from there, and you come back to Sri Lanka and you go to Sri Lanka Law College. First option. Second option is you can get it through an agent. You don't have to go to University of London. There are agents who work for University of London in Sri Lanka, right? For example, Royal Institute, RI, or CFTS, they work with University of London. APIT works with University of Staffordshire. IDM works with University of Buckinghamshire, right? So like that, there are universities, they are agents. They are agents of foreign universities. So you can go to APIT and get a university a degree from University of Staffordshire. You can go to IDM and get a degree from University of Buckinghamshire. You can go to CFTS or Royal Institute and get a degree from University of London, right? So that's the second option you have. Going to an agent, paying them money, and then getting them to get you connected to that university and getting the degree. Third option is doing it private. Some people do A levels private like that. So you can go to University of London website, fill the form online, make the payment with a card, right? And they'll send the admission card to your home in registered course. And you can go and sit in whatever the examination hall that they have. You can sit with the others and do the exam and you will get the certificate, right? So doing it private is also an option, right? Now, basically what RIO CF would do is they will be the middleman, right? They would like be the coordinator. They will teach you. They will do the paperwork for you and they will help you get the degree from them, right? Or you can directly contact University of London and do it private. That way that, you get to save up a certain amount of money, right? So whatever that you are paying for the agent. Now, different universities have different different agents have different budgets, right? Different places have quite drastically different, right? Like there are places which cost you like 5 million, 6 million, and there are places which would cost you like 1 million, 1.5 million. You can get everything done. Depends on the university, but of course, some universities have a higher price, but of course they'll give you a lot of benefits in return. And there are some universities with a smaller price tag. Of course, that's because they don't give you a lot of benefits back, but you'd still get your degree at the end of the day. There are some universities not really worth to pay that much. There are some universities it's quite worth. It's a good deal because you pay not a lot, but you get a lot in return. Now that of course, since these places are like um, commercial places, I'm not going to endorse any of those places or promote any of those places. If you want, of course, reach out to me private to if you want to hear my opinion or whatever. But like, I'm not going to, promote or like endorse any of the places. I won't get into details of these places, right? So uh, I believe you have the options clear. You go abroad to you can get the degree, or you go to an agent here and you get the degree through them, or you do it private. Of course, the most cost-friendly one is doing it private because you don't have to pay to an agent. You don't have to spend money to fly. You stay here in Sri Lanka, you privately get that done. That's the most convenient option, private. So that is something you can try. I know a lot of people who did the degree private, but of course, you have to be a very reliable person to do this, right? Because nobody takes responsibility for it. You have to keep in touch with the emails. You have to carefully read the emails, fill the forms properly, do self studies because there's no place to do lectures and stuff for you, right? So it's you have to be very reliable and hardworking because you are on your own. It's like doing A levels private. A levels through a school, the school would do the paperwork for you. They'll fill the forms for you. You just have to go collect the admission card, right? They'll teach you, they'll provide you the examination center, they'll send you emails, right? And there are batchmates. You'll stay updated, right? And if you're doing A levels private, you know that you have to go and fill the form and submit everything by yourself, and you have to stay alert. No one's there to tell you. You have to do self studies and all of that. So uh, you have to be very reliable, and you have to you know work hard. So if you can manage that, yes, doing your LLB private is an option, or NLB private is an option. Then you have the other two options: going abroad and going it through an agent. Again, I told you going abroad is something I don't recommend because it really is pointless, right? Even it will cost you what 20 million, 30 million, 40 million to go abroad, air tickets, accommodation, and basically that you are flying to a whole another country, cutting off whatever that you have here, right? And that's way too big of a transition and all of that, right? But I can find that makes some sense. But at the end of the day, you are getting a degree that your friends would get by staying here and spending a lot less money, right? You would spend like 20, 30, 40 million and go abroad and spend years and years there. You'd have to do part-time jobs and all of that and work so hard. And when you come back, your friends who spent like what, 2, 3 million, 4 million, or maybe even lesser if they did it private, and who managed to, work here, get internships done and all of that and get their work experience, make their contacts and all of that. And you two it would have literally you two would have the same degree, right? So it makes zero sense for you to go abroad and get it done because there are plenty of other ways. And when other people get it for like much, much lesser cost and effort, you putting that much of money and putting that much of effort is pointless, right? So you can go abroad for three reasons. Number one, that you have plans to settle down abroad. Now, in this case, I specifically use the word plans to settle down, right? Not rata yanna asai. There are a lot of people who likes to go abroad because you know that you're being teenagers or being in your early 20s, going abroad sounds cool. Obviously, going abroad, then settling down, staying in another country and putting stories from all these fancy places, right? Staying that, you know, you live in Melbourne or you live in London is much more fancier. Yes, you have to clearly understand the difference between your, what do you call that, your dream to go abroad and your plan to go abroad, right? If you have like a very clear idea that, you know, I'm done here, I'm going abroad, I'm settling down there, I'm getting PR and I'm going to live there. If you have it as a plan, if you have properly planned it out in your head, 10 years, then maybe you can go abroad and study your degree if you have no plans to come back, right? ඒක අමාර නිකන් නමට කියන එක නෙමෙයි මම කියන්නේ. I'm not saying that like, you know, you're just saying, you know, I have no plans to stay here. I want to go abroad. Right? It's not because it sounds cool, right? You have to think very, very far because you are literally deciding where to live the rest of your life in, right? So you shouldn't make that choice because it's cool, right? So unless that you have very thorough plans to go abroad, then settle there. Going abroad is not an option. Second option is basically that if you have personal issues, that if you want to go away from here or whatever for some reason, then again I would still recommend you to get your degree from here somehow and then go abroad either for masters or PhD. That's a better recommendation because these countries are sort of tightening their screws in terms of visa requirements, and you know they are not allowing a lot of students now like those days. There are a lot of students there and things aren't, grass is not very green at that side. To be honest, life is difficult when you go abroad, especially the new people who go abroad, right? So unless that, you know, there is something like that where you really have to go abroad, then yes. Or the third option is you can go abroad if you have money to throw. If you are coming from like a really, really rich family and like, you know, 30, 40 million means nothing to you, then yes, by all means, go get your degree, right? But I'm not against people going abroad. What I'm saying is don't go abroad for a low degree because you can literally get that degree from here, right? You can literally get that degree from here. It's like, okay, imagine something like this. Imagine that I have a PDF for today's seminar, right? Imagine that I can send it to you to your WhatsApp. You don't have to leave home, right? It's like you come all the way to where I live just to get my PDF through Bluetooth. I can send it to you through WhatsApp. I can mail it to you, right? You can stay home and get it. So going all the way there to get the same low degree as people are getting through an agent here is ridiculous. So no point. If you're going abroad, go for a degree that you can't get in Sri Lanka. Then it makes sense, right? So if you really, you know, want to get away from like some drama or some personal problems, or like if you have plans to go settle down in another country, don't go do a low degree. Do something else. Right? If you're doing a law degree, you are doing that to, you know, pursue a career in law. In that case, it is like somewhat a bad decision to go abroad, right? So I would say get it through an agent, which is the most reliable one. If you trust yourself to be reliable for yourself, you have the option of doing it private as well. Okay, right. So that's how you get it. But one more thing, a recent development now you have is that there are a lot of private universities in Sri Lanka giving law degrees, right? Because of that, huge, there is a huge number of foreign LLB lawyers coming out. As a result of that, now Sri Lanka Law College has this system where you have to sit for a special entrance examination. This is different from law entrance. Huh? This is different from law entrance. This is not law entrance. This is a special entrance exam. If you have a foreign LLB, if you have a London LLB, foreign LLB, LLB from another country, which means that, you know, just to share this and show you again. So if you are coming from this right hand side, if you are coming from a foreign university LLB, Sri Lanka Law College will host a special entrance examination. That paper is based on the Sri Lankan law, right? It's not the law entrance exam. It's not the law entrance exam, right? It's a different exam that they have for people who have foreign law degrees. just to check that you have the basic understanding of how the Sri Lankan law works, right? Special entrance. I do classes for that. Today I started a class for that because this is the first batch who is going to low college to special entrance exam. So if you have a foreign LLB, keep in mind that you have to get through that special entrance exam as well. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult like the low entrance exam, right? Okay. So those are the basic things. Normally, how much does it cost to do LLB private at University of London? Uh, Depends on the institute that you go to, right? I'd say roughly it costs about 4 to 5 million. And not just University of London, there are other institutions as well, like other universities, Buckinghamshire, Staffordshire, all those as well. But I'm not going to mention any prices or anything because, I don't work for any of these universities. I work with these universities. I go for to do lectures, to coach their debating teams, and I work with these universities. I'm friends with pretty much everyone in pretty much in all of these universities. I work with pretty much all of them. But of course, I'm not an employee or I'm not paid by any of these universities to promote them. And I think it's not nice for me to mention the prices. It's better if you check with them, right? If you want more details, you reach out to me on WhatsApp. It's not nice to mention it in a public seminar like this, the prices and all of that. But University of London, I'm not mentioning any of the institutions work with. I think roughly it costs about 4 to 5 million if you go through an agent. But if you do it private, I think you can get it done for like less than 2 million, I think, because the institution fees, like the agent fees are not there. You are directly paying to the university. Right? But again, it's hard. It's hard. You have to, really put in the effort. And about going abroad, let me explain this part. It's quite important. Going abroad, since the question was asked. Now, again, look at this, which I showed you. You see in Sri Lanka, the only place that you can get your attorneys is Sri Lanka Law College, right? Sri Lanka Law College is the only place you can get your attorneys from. Just like that, you go to another country. Those countries also have a place like the Sri Lanka Law College, right? Now, you see other countries like big countries like USA and Australia, they have states. They have different states, right? USA has New York, New Jersey, California, Alabama, and all of that. And Australia also has New South Wales and Victoria and West Australia and all of that. So in each one of those states, there is one place like this where you can do the bar exam. So say that you move to Melbourne, right? Melbourne is in Victoria, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or New South Wales. I think Sydney is in New South Wales and Melbourne is in Victoria, right? Or say that you move to Perth, that's in West Australia, right? So if you move to Perth, West Australia would have a place similar to Sri Lanka Law College for West Australia. They will have a bar exam, just like the bar exam we have in Sri Lanka Law College. So if you are a lawyer in Sri Lanka, if you have completed attorneys in Sri Lanka, and if you are an attorney, or say that even if you have an LLB, you can move to West Australia and sit for the bar exam that West Australia has. Sri Lanka Law College වගේ එහෙ තියෙන place එකට you can go and you can do the bar exam there. That way, you can move to any country in the world. If you are an attorney at law in Sri Lanka, you can move to any country in the world and sit for the bar exam there and pass that and be a lawyer there, be an attorney there, right? Now, technically speaking, I told you there are three options to go to Sri Lanka Law College, right? Having an LLB, passing law entrance, or being in the parliament. Technically, there is a fourth one. If you are a lawyer in a different country, if you're an attorney at law in a different country, you can go to Sri Lanka Law College and pass attorney at law exam and be a lawyer in Sri Lanka. That doesn't happen because nobody moves to Sri Lanka, right? If you are a lawyer in Australia, they don't move to Sri Lanka. But if you're moving other way around, of course, you can go to another country and do the bar exam there and be an attorney. No problem with that, right? Right. So that's the option when you're going abroad. Now, if you guys have any other questions, put it in the chat. We've almost reached the end of our seminar. Before that, I think you guys are in the Future Lawyers group. So you would have seen that I host a seminar. I host an orientation course, right? An orientation course where I teach these things further, right? Now, this is a free seminar. It's open for anyone. Now, if you want to study further about the Sri Lankan legal system, how to do your law assignments, how to pass law exams, exam tips, studying tips, internship opportunities, job opportunities, career avenues, and all of those things. For that, I have a 3 months course which I conduct. It's a paid course, right? So I share the details in the group. So basically, you can pay 6,000 and enroll to that. Then you can pay 5,000 to 5,000 installments. So basically, the full course fee is 16,000 for 3 months. Where I host two lectures every week, one physical, one online, and you can take part in that and further learn about how law works. Because you see that when you first start your law degree or you go to law college, when you start studying law, the transition is very different because a lot of people don't have the basic knowledge and they struggle a lot when they start their legal education. And I remember how I struggled, which is why I thought of like doing this course. That within those 3 months, I will give you the necessary orientation for you to have a proper understanding about how what kind of challenges you face. I also have included court visits where I will be taking you to courts or sometimes to meet president's councils, judges, and senior lawyers. So you can go meet them and learn more things, meet them and get the inspiration to go these courts and observe how these things work. And even like through my network of contacts, whatever the job opportunities, internship opportunities that I get, I can recommend you all to those as well, part-time jobs and all of that, right? So I have shared the details in the group. If you have plans to join this course, you let me know through DMs. I will be starting from beginning of March, right? I'll be starting from March, and you guys can join that if you are interested. So I can further give you the training. The course is named Suit Up because, uh, time for you to put the suit as attorneys, and basically that you will get your orientation and you will be ready to start your legal education. At the moment, we have about 20 students, and if you want to join, you can join that as well. Right. Any other questions? You guys can put it in the chat. I can answer. One question: will econ be helpful in studying law just like political science? Well, yes. Now, unlike political science, what you study for econ don't directly come for law, right? But the knowledge you gain through econ is quite useful because you learn a lot of things about the real world and how economic systems and all of these things work. And that knowledge can be useful, certainly. Not directly, though. Political science is the closest subject you have to law, which is why me being a political science teacher and a law teacher both works because the two subjects go simultaneously, right? Okay, I believe that's it. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So we can conclude this now. You guys can reach out to me on WhatsApp for any further doubts you have. So hope to see you guys in the legal profession. Hope to see you all at courts, to be specific, right? As attorneys, right? Hope to bump into you all. Hope to hear that, you know, hope to, bump into you at courts one day and for you to walk up to me and be like, a couple of years ago that I was in your this seminar and now I'm a lawyer. Love to hear that from you someday. So best of luck with your career and hope to see you soon. And good night, guys.